My phone, I'm saying.
Right. Right.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of What a Week. We're here live. I'm not alone. I'm with Tony and Mr. C. Welcome them, everybody. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
It's always together. We're back together. We're safe. We've lasted another week. It's another Sunday. How are we feeling this Sunday, guys?
Well, I'm still recovering from a little virtual rave I went to last night, but other than that, I'm good.
These are a weekly habit for you, aren't they, Tony?
Yeah, I'm addicted to virtual raving.
My brother. Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, man, this is a repetitive habit.
It's becoming an addiction. You know, the good thing is I could be there and lie in my bed at the same time. That's the beauty of it.
Honestly,
I can imagine who's zooming who done it? Aretha Franklin, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
So do you two meet up in the same parties sometimes?
Yeah, we move in the same circles.
Yeah. I was only in there for research purposes, though, Terry. I wasn't there.
What are you researching? Tell us, what are you researching?
I was researching to see whether this Zoom phenomenon, is all the hype that it's cut out to be. But I'm witnessing people enjoying themselves and singing along, and some people like Tony in their bed, raving horizontally and everything.
You know what I found? I found that the actual chat in Zoom doesn't work.
Oh dear.
Because every time I send a young lady a message, I never get no response.
So you think it doesn't work?
No, there's a bug there.
But there must be a bug because
it can't be that she don't want to talk to me.
That I was watching last night, there was no young ladies in there. It was pure mutton inside.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
Buffalo or bison was in there, mate. There was no spring chicken in there. when Noah built the ark and the animals went in 2 by 2, this was like these were the ones who got off the ark at the end.
This is terrible.
Media TV does not accept.
You know we are playing.
I was about to say the same thing, Tony. We do not respect, and we do not take on any of his comments. They're not from us. They're from Mr. C. Just in case any of them are watching right now. But at the same time, please share with us where, you know, some of the viewers who are watching right now might be wondering where this virtual party is. Where can they sign up? What time does it happen? Inform our viewers. Let us know. Tony, do you want to spill?
It just depends what sort of groups you're in. Normally, I mean, these things are just passed around, and it's in the group, and it's got a link. And basically, if you're up that late, then you might choose to try it out. You got to download Zoom onto your phone or your laptop or your iPad, and then basically click the link, and that should get you in. So, I mean, it's not very difficult to find.
Okay. So what one was you at last night?
Whose party was that? Oh, goodness me. That was a 4 DJ party last night. That was, why is my memory? Mr. C.
DJ Sharky?
Yeah, Sharky DJ was there. Colonel from Fat Man and Colonel, and then actually 2 lady DJs were playing as well.
Okay, so every week, do you go to a different party?
There's a different one every week, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a link up every week, same place.
No. It is the same place, but it's different organisers who set it up.
Okay, so people can really find these online, maybe via Facebook or something like that.
Yeah. Oftentimes they're advertised on Facebook, and like I said, in your WhatsApp groups, lots of people know about them.
Okay.
On Friday, we do a comedy show on a Friday, and afterwards we have an after party. So we had DJ Robber Ranks, the High Life family, OP, Miss Money Penny,
Wow.
and by somebody else. Yeah, but that was first it started off on Zoom, and then it migrated to Facebook. So you know, like back in the good old days when you went to a club, and when the club was finished, everyone was saying, "Where's the after party?" Yeah. So we went from Zoom, and it's like the after party was on Facebook. So it's like you went from your laptop to your phone.
This sounds nice. Do you guys eat food during this time? Surely you must get hungry.
Yes. You go to the kitchen.
Go to the kitchen,
and you get your little. Actually, I saw Mr. C. Did you see this guy last night yamming his chicken?
I saw there was a guy eating, but I also saw there was a guy who had the pressure cooker lid,
right?
And he was banging the pressure cooker lid. I was like,
honestly, it sounds like
where the hell did you find the pressure cooker lid from in this day and age? It's 2020, man.
Oh dear. Talking of food, I wanted to talk about food because this COVID, this pandemic, a lot of people have been eating all types of different food, and you know how we are as Black people, we love our foods, and there's been a lot of health issues, obviously, not away from COVID as well, people eating the wrong foods, and you know, with the Black community, they always say that we should definitely be careful about what we're eating, and a plant-based diet is the way to go, apparently. So have you guys tried any plant-based diet since this pandemic has started, and have you got any recipes that you can share with us?
Well, I'm literally, as you know already, through the coronavirus, I'm not eating any meat, so I'm literally on a plant-based kind of diet at the moment.
Oh, I don't think I knew that, actually. I don't think I knew that you'd cut out meat.
Plant-based diet. I'm just not having any meat. So yeah, and I've been like this for around about 4 weeks now, I think.
And how are you finding it?
I'm absolutely loving it. I must admit though, Friday I had a little bit of a dilemma because I thought, you know, I don't want to cook anything because I'm usually doing chickpeas, salads, veg, roast veg, fried veg. So I said, I'm going to treat myself. It's Friday night, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to treat myself to a little Indian meal, you know, get a little candlelight and make it, you know. But I ordered a chickpeas curry with some lentil soups and some chapati naan bread kind of thing. They sent me 2 chicken tikka masalas.
Savage.
And I busted it. When I sniffed the chicken, it smelled good in a curry.
I'm sorry.
All I had now was just this lentil. I felt like Oliver in the film, and you know the film Oliver Twist. Like I was just with a little bowl of lentil soup like this, like a proper vegan vegetarian. May I have some more, please? Please, may I have some more? And the chickens there watching me saying, "We know say you like chicken, though, innit? You like chicken, innit? Take peace, no? Take peace, no? But you're the on vegan diet. Take peace."
So you didn't break. You didn't break in and just eat the meat.
I didn't. Well, not fully anyway.
Yeah.
What I did, I don't know what happened there. What I did was I took a little bit of the chicken gravy.
The gravy,
and dipped it in, yeah.
That's
So,
that's fair.
So for 4 weeks no meat, and I'm loving it. I feel really good. Good.
Tony, have you learned any plant-based recipes or non-meat recipes during this COVID time?
Oh, come on, Terry. Look at this big head and see. You look like a man that knows anything about plant-based foods. Come on. No, man. I'm not buying that. No.
You're not even into
chicken. No. I'm gonna die whenever I'm gonna die. When my time comes, it comes. Chicken, steak, lamb. That's me, man.
Have you ever tried a plant-based meal?
Never.
Never.
It's never interested me. I'm sure it'd be good for me. Yeah. But to be fair, I've never tried it, and I have no interest in trying it.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this question, Tony. What is it about meat that you love so much that you can't give it up? What is it about it?
I like destroying the meat when I'm chewing it. You can't do the same with plant-based foods, can you? Right?
Listen,
you don't get, I mean, when I chew, it's like a fight. It's like I can still feel the chicken trying to get out, and I'm exerting my pressure on it. And then it gets to the back of my teeth, and then I've won that, and I chew that thing down, swallow that. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, it's for some people, but you know, I got to be true to myself and say no. I would never think of trying it.
Yeah.
I can tell he's a bone cruncher, Terry. You know, he's one of them who crunch the bone and
yeah.
He's one of them.
Marrow in the middle.
Yeah.
Marrow, yeah.
The marrow, man. That's good for you, man. Good for you.
You know what? I heard a saying just today in the preaching where the pastor said, "Make food your medicine, instead of making medicine your food."
Yes.
Amen.
It's a very good phrase. I won't forget it now. That's the first time hearing that. And I think it's very important that we control and look into what we put into our body. And this week I came across a lady called, well, not this week, I've been following her. Her name's Tabitha Brown. I am Tabitha Brown on Instagram. And she is vegan and she gives some really lovely recipes on there. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Some vegan recipes where you most probably wouldn't even miss meat. So I just encourage anybody, if you want to have a try, even if it's just one meal a day, have a try. I am Tabitha Brown. She gives some very good recipes on there on things that you could just substitute for other things and have a try, have a taste. I would say have a taste, Tony. Come on.
Here's an interesting comment. Tony says, what do you think about Trump trying to keep the meat industry alive in America? I support that. So if they ban meat here, I'm going over there.
That's it. There'll be no more Tony on the show.
No.
You have to put a piece of meat where you sit, usually. Huh?
Actually, it's funny. I did see a report about how, you know, this pandemic is. There are reports talking about why we should sort of cut down or cut out our consumption of red meat altogether.
Yes.
And again, you know, my problem with that is on the surface it sounds like a very good idea, but then it's, you know, it's all about, you know, restricting what you can and cannot have. I mean, if it starts with red meat, then it ends with what? White meat, then everybody's going to be eating vegetables. I'm not going to survive.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go on, Mr. C.
Sorry. I think on the other side of that, I think one of the reasons why Trump is saying they want to promote the meat is because at the end of the day, they know that so many people like yourself, Tony, who's anti-vaccination. So what they'll do, they'll just vaccinate the meat, what you're eating, and then but by default, you'll get it, innit?
You got me.
Stumped.
You got me.
Vaccinate the chicken, Tony, done.
Right. Well, you know, due to our genetics as Black people, we're set up differently. And I saw a video during the week of this lady who put up. She works in the medical field. I think she's a nurse, and she put this video up on Facebook. So let's play the video, and then let's talk about what she talks about.
Caribbean folks, Blacks of any kind or shape, wherever you come from, that I think you all need to be aware of. That is, for folks who are showing symptoms of COVID-19, our symptoms as Blacks are different. You don't have a cough, you don't have a temperature, yet our folks are dying at a higher rate than any other nationality or group. And that is because instead of a fever and a cough, what our folks are showing up with is what we in healthcare call malaise, or you just don't feel right. And on top of that, what happens is you start having either pain in an extremity or you just start feeling a little winded. Guess what? If this is happening to you, you need not to go lay down. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, as you can see there, she talks about Black people, our genetics. This week, a lot of people, the discussion on a lot of people's lips in our community is the fact that we are having a very high death rate in comparison to other communities. And she talks on how it affects us differently from others. And we shouldn't lay down when we're feeling this pain and just think, oh, I'm going to just lay here for a bit. We need to get up and get moving. So our genetics affect our health. What do we think about this, Mr. C and Tony? What do we think about what she said in that video and how impactful this is on our community?
Well, I think you know what she's saying is so right and so true, because if if you listen to certain phrases, such as like, you know, I'm not going to lay down and die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stand up and fight. So I think with those kind of things, that is key for us as a community. That, you know, we have to be active when we've got this thing, man. You can't just lie down, because otherwise it will just take over your body.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're there in the hospital. And we've already had this discussion. What I think about, once you reach the hospital, you're gonna hear that tune. What you hear, man.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum. No, that's Here Comes the Bride. No, Here Comes the Bride. Yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing. Life as you know, finish. It done. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Elsie has said this lady knows it. She has seen it. The virus is mutating, and she is speaking from first-hand experience. Tony, I know a lot of videos like this go around, but what do you think specifically on what this lady has said in this video, Tony?
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we've been hearing from very early on how inordinate amounts of Black people have been affected by this virus. First of all, I heard this in the States, that this was happening quite a lot. Then we heard about the NHS workers. You know, the Black and ethnic minority workers were suffering more so than anybody else. The question that, you know, that concerns me is, then, are we the target?
Oh, you think we might be being targeted specifically?
Well, if you know, I mean, I have no statistics to sort of say whether this is true or not, and I can't challenge it, and I can't agree with it necessarily, because I don't know. But it has to be asked. I mean, if high numbers of Black people are dying more than any other group, then why is that happening? We could talk about diet and lifestyle and all the rest of it, but let's be honest. I mean, we have a very similar diet and lifestyle to everybody in whichever country we're in, whether in the US or the UK. So, what is the difference that's causing this high rate of death? And that's what's interesting to me.
Well, then again, when you say that, I think you have to take into consideration that those of us who are here in a European environment, we do probably pick up certain foods which are not probably indigenous to us, to our culture or to our heritage. So some of the stuff that we might, like, if you look at a lot of our young people, for example, they're into the chicken shops. You know, that's really and truly, that's not probably food for us. So a lot of people eat in certain food types now, which is, you know, if we was in the Caribbean or we was in Africa, would we be eating that kind of food, or the way how that food is raised or reared, I should say. So I think that has a big effect on it. So like in America, they use a lot of salt in their food. A lot of American people are quite obese, and you'll find that more in impoverished areas more than areas of influence. So it'd be good to see what the difference is between like Atlanta and you know, say like something like, you know, New York, for example, where in Atlanta there's much more people, there's a much more greater population who are affluent in that area than they are in New York. So, you know, probably people in Atlanta are eating better types of foods, but I'd like to see those kind of comparisons rather than just saying that this is just targeting Black people, because I don't think it is just targeting us. I think that in certain areas we don't eat as well as we should, and that's why we're more prone to it, because we're compromised our immune system.
Yeah. I know some Black people who've been affected by COVID and who suffered with it, and the symptoms were very different to what this lady describes. But again, you know, it's hard to say without sort of the stats to look at, you know, which way this is going. But it is quite surprising. And I'd like to know the reason why more Black people are dying at the rates they are of COVID than anybody else.
In the medical field, it could be down to numbers as well, because I spoke to a nurse this week, and she was saying how she works by agency, and she was offered maybe, I think it was like up to £180 an hour to come back into work. She's retired, and they offered her £180 an hour to come back and work during this pandemic. And she claims that a lot of her counterparts who are Black and ethnic are going in because they want the money. And a lot of other races are turning it down because there's no amount of money that could be paid to them for them to go and put themselves at risk. So could it be down to the fact that, you know, because of money and wanting to provide for your family and so on and such forth is what's driving a lot of the ethnic people into work, which is causing them to die? That would be another game in regards to that. What do we think?
No, I think you hit a good point there as well, because a lot of the key workers, a lot of the people working on the underground, a lot of people working on the train systems. We can say people working in schools. A lot of them are from how can I put it, a background of color. So therefore, when these people are coming back home, more of that community is being exposed to COVID-19 more than any other kind of ethnic group, possibly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that she says that the symptoms are vastly different to what we're normally told the symptoms of COVID are. So, what she say that you don't really feel them, you don't cough.
I can explain that though. I can explain that because you see, like most Europeans who contract COVID-19, they're going to experience a cough and everything, because their throat is not used to things like chicken foot, oxtail, and dumplings. So their passage in their throat is smooth. But the COVID-19, when it's going down their throat, the COVID-19 is like, "Oi, come on, let's get into the land." But when it goes into a black person, it's like, "What's this? What's it? Oh my God, is there a pig foot over there? Get out of here, it's got to work harder." So that's why there's no cough in black people. That's a theory.
That's just Mr. C's very theory on
a good one. It's as good as the one that's in the press. I mean, the thing is, I really don't know what to make of it. Whether it's propaganda, right, to get the attention of black people or whatever, or it is actually true that there are extraordinary amounts of black people that are dying from this pandemic. I think we'll have to wait a little bit more to watch the numbers start rolling in before we can actually say for sure what is. But my point is, if they're the higher risk group than anybody else, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether we can say diet and lifestyle is solely the cause. I'll start smelling a rat.
Well, I think
I'm glad you said smelling a rat. Sorry to interrupt you, Terry, but I was saying that sometimes when you look at the signs of things, because even though Africa as a continent was the least affected by COVID-19, it was the number one place where they said they wanted to do the testing of the vaccine. So therefore, if they're now saying that this COVID-19 affects black people more than anybody else, when it is time for vaccination, you know who's going to be mandatory first.
That could definitely be the agenda, couldn't it? But also, I think prevention is better than cure. So if she makes some sort of points, I think it'd be good if you can make some sort of changes to your lifestyle, i.e. what you put in your body, and it could be helpful. I don't see any harm in trying it, because it's not anything harmful that we'd be doing for ourselves if we were to change up our diet a little bit and maybe do more exercise and all sorts of things like that. I think it can only help. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So moving on from that topic, let's talk about income during the pandemic. Everybody, obviously, some people are suffering. Some people have been furloughed. Some people lost their jobs completely. Some people are running their own business and can't run their own business from home. So therefore, they're in a place of being in hold, basically, and not sure if they'll even be able to open back up when the pandemic is over. So I want to talk about multiple streams of income. I saw this video, which we're going to play now, and it was definitely inspiring. So let's watch the video first.
Do you need to have all of these jobs like I do and I can't even remember all of them? No, absolutely not. You don't have to have 10 jobs, but you do have to have multiple sources of income. Not only am I saying this is what Warren Buffett, perhaps the greatest investor to ever walk the planet, has said. You must have multiple sources of income. And if you do, you'll get 3 major benefits. One is you won't be beholden to one source, and therefore you'll have a lot less stress in your life. So for me, think about these 10 jobs that I have, right? 10 sources of income.
So there you go. There you have it. His name's Paul Brunson, and he claims that having multiple sources of income will cause you less stress, and especially in a pandemic like this. If we're not just relying upon our one job or our one income, I'm sure it would help to relieve some of the stress. So I want to ask you guys, what are you doing? Or if you have any multiple incomes, or have you got any ideas, or have you seen any online where people are doing other things now to make money that have inspired you? And please, those who are watching at home, message in. Have you got any ideas for ways in which you can make money during the pandemic, or have you seen anything inspiring during this time that you could share with us? That's what I'm interested in talking about right now. So, Mr. C, obviously you're a comedian, you're a freelancer, you work for yourself. Do you agree with this man saying multiple streams of income will cause less stress?
100%, and I think there's a message in what he's saying as regards to, the more streams of income you've got, the more happier you'll be, the less stress you have. So if we look at my friend like Whatless Johnny, for example, yeah, Whatless Johnny, he's got 3 girls at the moment. He's so happy. He's so happy. You know what I mean? He's got no stress. All my other brethren have got 1 gal, stress, pure stress they've got, not Whatless Johnny. So the same way like how he's got more than 1 gal, more than 1 stream of income, definitely is a helper. And I'll say this seriously though, that myself as a comedian, so I'm a comedian, I host events, I'm a comedy promoter, I teach comedy, I teach comedy in so many different formats, in schools, in prisons, within teaching people to use comedy to help them with public speaking. So I had so many different streams of income. However, in this pandemic, all of those streams of income have now stopped. So it's showing me that you can't just have multiple streams of income in one source or one kind of area. You still have to kind of diversify it as well, and that's the truth. You really have to. If you're not, then you are a slave to the system. 100%.
Very good point. Tony, over to you.
I'm not a comedian, but my money is a joke. I didn't prepare for COVID. I had my little 1 stream of income that was taken away from me.
Oh dear.
Now I'm looking for a sugar mummy to help me out.
That's why he's in the Zoom every weekend.
There we go. That's why I go to these parties, in the hope that there's a rich woman there. You know what? When you actually at these Zoom parties, you can look behind their head to have a look at the house and see how they're doing.
You did say that
those are the women that I message.
Terrible.
Like I said, the chat obviously is not working. There's a bug in the software, so they have to get that fixed. But no, I mean it's very true what he's saying. I think ordinarily, yes, more than 1 stream of income is very important, right? Relying upon one, when that's taken away from you, what do you have? You have nothing left. The problem is most streams of income now are sitting on the financial system, which has been closed. So even if you try to do business online in many respects, okay, people aren't earning money. So they're spending the money they've got, and that money is running out. And so inevitably, if this carries on for a lot longer, you're going to find that every stream of income is going to be dried up, unfortunately. But as a general principle, yes, certainly. I mean, it's a lesson I certainly learned. Once we come out of this, that you cannot rely on one source alone.
Yeah, definitely.
People have got to learn about passive income as well. So I always say this to my sons when especially the younger one, when he's always asking about a video game which costs like anything between £30 to £60. So I'm saying to him, how many of your friends have got this game? And they'll say to me, oh, like half the school, dad, blah blah blah. And I'll say to them, this is to show you how one person thought up of the idea for this game, and now in their sleep they're earning thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars, or just by this one idea, which is now is making them money in their sleep. So that's like a passive income where you spend a lot of time on one particular thing, and then you send it out there, and it just creates repetitive amounts of money for you. So it's one of the aspects that I'm looking at now is like a lot of people, even watching this as well, have got skills like yourself, Terry, as a presenter, Tony, as yourself as a nammer of chicken, that, you've got skills where if you did a workshop and you put it online, it might take you 2 weeks or a month to create that workshop. But once you've created it and you put it online for people to buy, they can buy it from all over the world. And while you sleep, you're earning money. So, all of us need to look at passive amounts of income and also encourage our children to use this technology to start building their businesses as well. So there's a guy called Julian Hall. He calls himself the entrepreneur, and he teaches children entrepreneurship. So children as young as 8 starting up their own business, be it, making T-shirts. There's a guy, Omari, I'm sure some of you have seen him, who's a vegan chef. He's like 12 years old. He's running his business as a vegan chef. And, this is the future for it. If our children can grasp this technology, grasp multiple streams of income and their own kind of thing, then, we all win in this. We all win. Imagine if your children are earning money at the age of 12. You can go to your boss on Monday and say, "God, kiss on," and then you have your child pay for your mortgage. Oh, this is the dream. This is the dream.
Honestly,
sorry, Terry, just a quick one. I mean, I think the biggest problem really for us is financial illiteracy. We haven't had the education. I mean, our parents, they came here, for a better life. They bought a house, maybe 2 or so, but we weren't really taught in how the tax system works, in stock market and all that. We pumped our money into frivolous things, right? And short-term gains. And as a result, because of our lack of training, we are not able to train our youngsters. So this becomes your reservoir of information where you can actually stop making the errors of the past and actually use the information from the internet to teach your youngsters and maybe even correct some of your own mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody here said, where did I see it? Parenthood is an unpaid job, but it takes up most of the time. And as we were talking about teaching our children to do better, to look into being entrepreneurs and everything like that, parenthood is an unpaid job, but it does take up a lot of time, but it can be very rewarding because this is now a time, like what you're talking about, Tony, is a time where we as parents can take control about what we are teaching our kids and what they are learning. So I've always said there should have been a subject at school where you talk about finances, mortgages, looking into things like stocks and shares. I think that would be a very good subject to have from being school, so that you can have that mentality as you grow up, not just something that you look into one day. But so I believe this is a time now where us parents could take charge and teach our children about certain things, maybe obviously making it child friendly. We can't be talking about mortgages and percentages now, maybe depending on the age of your child. But I think this is a time where we can actually be empowered and take that power back and slip in a few extra classes on finances. I think this is something we should all do as a community right now while I've got the chance.
Yeah, rather than send your child to online school where they're not learning much, perhaps look online for some child-friendly education, financial education.
Yeah.
That they can pick up and practice, as they get older. But as I said, the problem is when you've got nothing as a parent, you've got nothing to give, and so this might not be an opportunity for both parent and child to learn about the financial system, how it works, and how to benefit from it. But there's a reason why they don't teach you this in schools. That should be obvious.
Yeah, because they don't want us to be winning like that. We're meant to fall into the system, get into debt, and owe them for the rest of our lives. And we don't want that. So now's our time to just rebel against that. Mr. C, what did you say the name was of the man who teaches children? Sorry, I'm just intrigued.
His name's Julian Hall, and the name of his company is called, he's the Entrepreneur, he calls himself. Absolutely fantastic organisation. They got workshops all over London, some Birmingham, Luton, one or two other cities as well. Fantastic.
Please look him up. Dean says the skill sets of the African diaspora are widely promoted whilst we are on lockdown. We have the capability to engage with everybody. So it's true. We have the options there. We have many platforms. Let's not just pretend that there's nothing for us. There's so much out there for us that is widely available. And during this lockdown, let's educate ourselves as parents, as adults, and let's educate up and coming generation. So going on to the next thing, we're going to talk about this man. Let's play the video first and let's let him introduce himself. Let's see.
Stop! KO. Stop! KO. Stop! KO.
Woo! We had to shoot it 3 times because it was powerful. It was short and powerful. Mike Tyson. that was just released this week of him doing some exercise. Well, maybe that's just what he does on a weekly basis. Some of us, that's what we do, you know. But he is 53 years old and still punching like that. What are we saying? Mike Tyson to come back into the ring at this age? Is that even a possibility, guys?
Listen, if Iron Mike was to come back into, listen, I'm buying my ticket. I'm buying my ticket because you know what? When I watch boxing now, I don't know whether I'm watching boxing or Strictly Come Dancing. They're not fighting in there. Bring back Mike, yes. Listen, if I could dig up Muhammad Ali and everything, I'd dig up Muhammad Ali to bring, because Ali at 90 whatever with Parkinson's is much better than some of these. The only word to describe them are bums. They're not. It's a joke. Definitely, Mike Tyson. It will bring the excitement back, and I think he'll do good. I think he'll knock some of these people out.
Really, Tony?
Yeah.
You know what? That was so quick. I actually didn't see it. Is it possible to play that again? Just to, Mr. Engineer, can you play that again? Just so we can actually see.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
And here he comes, Captain.
That's not
That was not.
that's the real Mike Tyson. That's Mike Tyson.
Did you see the trainer just walked away? The trainer just said, "Oh, heel." He left. He quit his job. And then
yeah, that's right. That's after he gets his video frame out. And he's off. Yeah. Excellent.
That was a very funny transition. That was very funny.
The blackout of the trainer. The trainer.
All right, Mike. See you later.
The trainer left black and he emerged white.
Oh, that was funny.
That was very funny. But Tony, what do you?
I've actually been following this story for a few months, and there's an ongoing online spat between Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder, who, if anyone doesn't know, recently challenged Tyson Fury for the World Heavyweight crown and lost it. But anyway, the point was that Deontay Wilder was asked, could you beat a prime Mike Tyson? To which he answered basically, yes, he could, right? And obviously, you know, there was all this uproar and so forth. And Mike was interviewed about this idea about coming back and retiring because he has lots of opinions about the current heavyweight scene. And the way he was talking, you could sense that, given the opportunity, you know, he might give it a shot, right?
Wow.
And then he was asked, Mike, are you going to come back? And he said, no, definitely not. I've done what I had to do in boxing. You know, I'm finished with it. And now what he's saying, the reason why we're looking at that clip is because Mike intends to do some charity bouts.
Oh, lovely.
He's looking to do some bouts for charity, like 3 or 4 rounds. And that's what you're watching. He's training for that. Now he's only been back in training for a week, right?
Wow.
Since he's put the gloves back on. And that's what we're seeing already. So, you know, obviously once he gets his timing right and the fitness and everything else, I mean, he's saying that his body's pretty jacked up at the moment, but I mean, he's in good physical shape. He looks good, but obviously, you know, boxing fitness is another level of fitness. But
yeah.
He says that he wants to basically have a few exhibition bouts, and you can bet that he's going to impress. Looking at that, you know, with the right trainers, he's going to impress. And you may be looking at the oldest heavyweight champion ever by the time he's 55.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks impressive. I mean, hitting mitts is not the same as being in a ring with another boxer. But what you're looking at there, he doesn't look washed up, does he?
Not at all.
No. Who is he going to fight, Tony? Is he
what
going to fight anybody famous?
Well, the thing is, I mean, they're currently now looking at previous champions, right? I'm not necessarily Evander Holyfield or Lennox Lewis, but sort of someone in their sort of 40s who's maybe just retired in the last 5 years or so. It's you know, it's a question of giving him someone you know, competent to box. So it's not like a Mickey Mouse journeyman that he's going to be challenging. I think he's probably yeah. Oh no, oh Chris. No. Chris, I don't know if you know the story, but a few months ago, Nigel Benn was was contracted to fight because he was coming out of retirement too, and for some reason I think he had a shoulder injury or something like that, and basically he had to cancel it. But I think there were people telling Nigel, listen, you know, don't do it, right? But nobody's saying to Mike, don't do it.
Well, Anne-Marie just said he left the sport with no brain injuries. Stay home, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay home. Why now? You're older, you're more fragile. Even for charity, it's worth the risk.
Yeah, but you see, when you've been idolized like a god for your whole life, right? None of us really know what that's like. You know, literally idolized by the world as a god, right? Even now he's not boxing. I mean, he's doing interviews. People want to know his opinions on stuff when it comes to boxing. A lot of people follow Mike Tyson, and that is very difficult to shake off when you've been a warrior all your life. You don't stop being a warrior because you get older.
Yeah.
And I think as well, Tony, one of the good points to point is, like, if you look at something like football as a sport, that what you'll see that you know, from the days of, say, like David Beckham, you see how the sports progressed to, say, somebody like Ronaldo or Messi. You see that sport has improved, or people within that sport have got better. So, like basketball, Michael Jordan, and then you see Kobe Bryant.
Right.
But when you look at boxing, you look at all the greats and you think, oh, really? And I'm not talking AJ, because AJ is my boy. You know what I mean? I defend AJ to the day I die, but he can only fight who's put in front of him. So when you look at it, you know, you name me 4 great.
But the challenge, Mr. C, is going to be the youth. You see, they have the years on their side, and you know, taking a punch at 25 is different than taking a punch at 55.
Yeah, but you know what they say, that new broom sweep clean, but old broom no in the corner. When Tyson comes around with that punch from the side, delivers it with that. Oh man, they're gonna drop the same way, man. They're gonna drop. They're gonna drop different. Some of them are not getting back up. Definitely, they're gonna be carried out the ring when Tyson hits them.
And he said you'd pay the money to watch it, wouldn't you, Mr. C?
Oh yeah, I'll go Madison Square Garden. I'm gone. Well, probably not if it happened this year, because due to the corona, you know, corona has affected my currency, my cash flow. You know what I'm saying? But no, I wouldn't miss that, mate. I'm definitely going for that one.
Look at Anne. Anne's full of jokes today. Anne says, Mike, stay at home and make a grill machine. Like she's talking about George Clooney. Anne's full of jokes today, boy.
Most of the people there think it's too funny, girl.
We need to get Anne on the show.
We do.
No, she's a great person, man. Wonderful singer, and also for if you're doing events, interior decor for like christenings, weddings, funerals, absolutely fantastic, phenomenal.
Oh, thank you for that plug. And moving to Boris, our friend Boris, he had his baby this week, so congratulations to Boris and his fiance. They had a baby boy. I believe that they were inspired by the name Nicholas, because of the 2 doctors who looked after Boris while he was in hospital, that gave him the inspiration to call his son Nicholas. I think it's one of the middle names. What if one of the doctors had been of an African descent and had an African name? Do you think Boris would have still been inspired and maybe inserted the African name into the middle? What do we think about that?
Absolutely no way.
Complete silence.
You know, when I heard that he did that, I was hoping that the doctor's name was Winston.
So why, Boris?
No, man, come on. You know, Boris. We know what Boris is about, man. Boris wants names that roll off the tongue, man, that sound like things that he knows.
Oh dear. I suggest
it should have been one sexy Jamaican nurse looking after him. But he could have called the child Pantyless, about Nicholas. Move and go.
But also talking of Boris,
proper poor person. So he could have called the child Penniless, but then again, because it's Boris's child, it would never be Penniless, would it?
Never.
How about Whatless?
Well, I think it was nice that he decided to pay tribute in that way. And even on this week, we will be hearing from them about whether the lockdown is going to go on further or what's going to be happening. What do we feel is going to happen? Do we feel there's going to be another extension, or will they slowly, gradually start letting us be out? What's the best thing for us as well? I mean, I feel that even if they said, look, we're going to start releasing people, you can start going out, I'm going to be very cautious personally and will still most probably stay home unless it's very, very vital that I leave.
I think you're right there. I think they've done enough scaremongering for it to just control. You know, they put the controls out there, and what will happen now? People will control themselves. So, you know, like, for example, when I look at like the prison system, like, you know, because the prison system was full, what they did with some of our young men, they made them now become prisoners within their own areas. So, you know, they're now postcode prisoners because of how they conditioned them to behave. So they don't need to put them in prison. They don't come out their end. So I think the same with a lot of us now. We've been so used to self-isolating. We're so fearful of going outside, of contact with people, that we will just now police ourselves that way. Even if they say, oh, it's okay now, you can go outside, go on. You know, when you keep a dog inside for a long time, and you open up the front door, the dog is like, and that's what will happen with us.
I think the government intends to lift restrictions very, very slowly. I don't think it's going to be, you know, it's going to be piecemeal. I think they're talking about shops and restaurants slowly opening. Now restaurants have to rearrange their seating so people can sit 2 meters apart, you know, and all this sort of nonsense, despite the fact that the economy is diving. I think people's behavior are going to change. And something tells me that was what it was designed for, to change your behavior. You know, to look at everybody as, you know, a potentially disease-ridden individual. I mean, the extent that people walk around, you know, I've seen where people sort of just stand at the end of the road, you know, for me to try and pass, you know, they make a sort of theatrical thing about it. Do you know what I mean? It's only 2 meters, and then you have some people have still not kind of got their idea around sort of 2 meter distance. They're still just walking as normal. But I think the idea of queuing up outside of shops is going to remain for quite a while. The 2 meter distancing thing, you know, and slowly, piecemeal. And what I don't think the government, they don't, whatever the situation is with the pandemic at the moment. Let's say, I mean, a lot of people have said that it's past its peak, right? The government do not seem to be willing to lift restrictions, and there's no intent that they're going to do it fully. It's almost like they want to keep this going for as long as they need to keep it going, and then give you something, right? Give you something piecemeal so you don't complain. But I don't know if you saw in the news yesterday, there was a group of people who demonstrated outside of New Scotland Yard. They were hugging up together. They had signs saying "My body, my choice," and although they were a very small group, they sort of represent, I think, a growing concern amongst the public that, you know what, this is going on for too long, and we want to get our lives back. Yeah.
George said that Ghana is not under lockdown, but they are observing social distance and wearing masks. Wearing masks has not been made compulsory here, but I definitely think it's a sensible thing to do. I don't know how you guys feel on that one.
Nah.
No?
With me.
No.
I'm not wearing a mask. Not happening.
Tell me why. I'm intrigued. Why are you so against it?
Because I'm a black man. I'm not walking down the street with no mask for police to come and stop me and feel so that I must look at this beard. I'm going to look like Osama bin Laden with it. No, so it's not happening. If I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to have to wear something like Zorro or something. It'll have to be a superhero that I want. A Batman mask or something. Spider-Man.
Yeah. So you think it will increase racial profiling if everyone has to wear a mask, basically?
No, what I'm saying is that it's absolute nonsense wearing a mask. Unless your mask is an absolute top quality mask, it's absolute nonsense wearing a mask. I'm not going to be wearing one. I don't believe that the risk is as high as they're saying. This is my own personal belief, and I just think I'm not doing that. I'd rather just stay in my yard. If it's that dangerous, I'll stay in my yard.
Okay. And what about you, Tony?
I think the government have shot themselves in the foot on the mask thing. I think from the very beginning, they were umming and ahhing about the effectiveness of the mask. I think it was the chief medical officer, I can't remember what her name was, who said basically, well, there's no evidence that the mask can help. And anyway, if you put your hand on it, right, you put your hand on it and you take it off and put it on, you're likely to get it onto your hand. So we're not really, we're not really supporting the idea of wearing masks. Well, now if they change their mind and say and make it mandatory, hold on, you're sort of creating mixed messages for people. But I agree with Mr. C. I mean, I wouldn't wear one. I'd rather stay at home.
I think that her name, Tony, was Mina.
Okay.
Mina Noor. That's her name.
I was actually listening to you just then, thinking that you were being serious.
Oh.
What's you wrote the skill sets of African diaspora, right? Okay, this is going back to the school thing that someone's talking about there. There'll be another peak as they have 4 million beds at 4,000, beds at Nightingale, or will that setup stay in place for the next pandemic? Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, so far, I think the most patients they've had there has been 19. So wow. They haven't set Nightingale Hospital up for nothing. It's got to be used. They've invested in it. Yes, we have had Boris turn around and say, well, there's going to be the second phase. So they know what's coming and what they're expecting. So, yeah, she might be right.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
I've got a few theories what I think. I think that obviously when they start forcing people to have the vaccination, as we all know, the vaccination contains an element of whatever you're trying to vaccinate against. So once they start doing the vaccination, a lot of people are going to get ill. So it could be for that.
Okay.
Or this is really way out there. But for me, it's like sometimes when they have like what do they call them? Pub inquiries into certain events. Like why are the police so racist? Why do more black people get COVID? They're not really looking for any real explanations or any real reasons or answers. It's because it allows them now as a government to take a pool of money and say, here you go, Rupert, you have this money and do this investigation. We don't care what you find or if you don't find anything, but this money is now spent. So it's the same with this hospital. All those contracts, who did it go to? Who benefited from that?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's a pot of money for them to go and build this hospital that's got 19 people in it. And I think when you look at the accounts for that hospital, and then you'll see what's really going on, unless these beds get filled. Or it could be, again, another case of Boris Johnson just whatlessly spending people's money, like when he was the London mayor, and he bought all of those, remember he bought these tanks, which fired water to break up riots or whatever? He spent, God knows how much millions on these particular tanks or whatever, and not one of them was ever used. Again, the same thing when we was going to build this bridge across the Thames, spent all of this money to go and build this bridge, and it's never been built, but they spent around about, I don't know, say a couple of million anyway, of our money, and who's got that money? Seeing people them in brethren.
Yeah. There's, the government are meant to be for the people, but I think it's always business first with them, and there's always an agenda behind everything they do. So for me, I'm siding with you there to see that it probably is that. It's just government feeding it back into themselves, but making it look like they're doing it for the people. On a lighter note, Captain Tom Moore, who has been raising money, let's show you the video of him. That's now time for that video.
And here he comes, Captain Tom Moore, approaching his 100th birthday, 100 laps of his garden during lockdown, all of the money going to NHS charities, a guard of honour from the 1st Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment. Inches to go, and there he is. Congratulations. Well done. Absolutely amazing achievement. Captain Tom, how do you feel this morning?
Fine. Yes. I'm surrounded by the right sort of people, so yes, I feel fine. I hope you're all feeling fine too.
Bless him. He celebrated his 100th birthday this week, and he has raised over £32 million. Tony, tell us some more. I know this is your forte.
No, this story sort of got me thinking a lot. I mean, here is a man who fought for his country, and I think he was stationed in India, I believe, and he basically served his country, and for that alone, right? Even those Black and Asian soldiers who served the country, I mean, they should be putting their feet up and rewarded as the heroes that they are for their contribution. But what was interesting about this man, Captain Tom, is that with ill health, as you can see, and a pandemic sweeping his country, this man decided that he wanted to do something for his nation. And it kind of got me thinking, as Black people, what can we learn from that experience? What can we learn from his example? And for me, when we say we love things, or we love our people and we love our nation, the word love actually is always entwined with this idea of service. It's always entwined with this word of sacrifice, doing something for the things that you love. So this man didn't have to do anything at 100 years old. He already, for a whole lifetime, he's already given up almost the ultimate sacrifice, right? He managed to survive. He saw all his comrades die and whatever. But at 100 years old with failing health, this man said, you know what? I want to do one last thing. I want to contribute something to my nation. And it sort of just got me thinking about, what example we can take from that, and what contribution can we make to our nation? Because obviously a lot of us, we live, we're very busy. We've got our families to bring up and whatever, but obviously we have less fortunate people within our nation who need help. So we have a lot of Black homeless people, for example, on the street. So if we're walking down the street, is it possible that we could help them in some manner? Perhaps give them some money, buy them some food, not ignore them or walk past them. Some of our children are in need of guidance. Could we consider, for example, mentoring? So we have a lot of Black people at this moment in time living on their own. Some of them are our neighbors. They live on our street. They live in our flats. Can we perhaps check in? It's little things, it's little things of service that makes that contribution to a nation. You see, okay, we can't fight for the nation in the way that Captain Tom did, but it's those little things that demonstrate our love for our people.
We have sacrificed enough.
No, I think that there's a misunderstanding here with what Tony's saying. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. We as Black people have suffered enough, most definitely. But what we have to understand is that we're still suffering. Until we can take something like the only thing I'd add on to what you were saying, Tony, is that what we need to do is add finance to it. So it's not just about going up the road and helping somebody. Is that if we now have, if we can do some kind of sponsored event where we can raise a particular amount of money for a purpose within our community, then that's better. Like, if a celebrity wants to do a 100-mile walk to raise money so that we've got our first Black school in London, well, not the first, but a Black school in London, or a centre where, I think it was Dean who was saying some of the great organisations, Ultra Kids, Manhood Academy, Father to Father. There's so many great organisations where we can, either as a community raise enough funds to provide a building for us, to provide schools for us, provide places where we can come and use this equipment or this environment for free or at a reduced rate. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to build wealth within what we're doing, but take the opportunity. So what I'm going to do is, my grandma, she's got a bit of dementia. So I'm going to get her to do a sponsored walk. I'm just going to tell her she's going Tesco's. She don't know no different. Got the dementia. So I'm going to get her to do a sponsored walk. I'm going to set up a GoFundMe page, and I'm going to create my own, my own thing for our community, and get her to do the charity walk. Seriously though, but we need to do something for ourselves, money-wise.
Very inspiring, and I think on that note, we can definitely take a lot from what's been said there and what we've seen throughout the whole show. Actually, I think we've covered a lot of ideas about multiple streams of income, educating children in finances, and the fact that we have platforms out there that are ready to be used. So let's use them. Let's get active. Let's think about acts of kindness that we can do within our communities. And as much as we do want to uplift our own community, I think it's also nice to involve others around you, show love to all people, because we're all humans. And even though we all come in different shapes, sizes, and shapes, some of us eat meat and some of us are vegan. But at the same time, I think we all need love. So on that note, I'm going to send love to you for watching us this week. Thank you for joining us on What a Week. And love to Tony and love to Mr. C. Thank you again for joining us.
Terry. Of course, love to you, Tony, as well, and all the viewers. Big up.
Please make sure you. What a week. Make sure you do your act of kindness some which way. Do your research. Look into your foods. Do whatever you can to help yourself and help your community. And oh wait, Mr. C has something. Go on.
One more point on that. I almost forgot. So like one of our comedians, he's doing something for Mo Gilligan. He's doing a show for all the NHS key workers.
Oh, excellent.
At Hammersmith. It's a free show for all the NHS. So that's one comedian giving back to the community as well. So that's a perfect example, man. Big up, Mo.
Big up, Mo. Thank you, Mo, for that. And yeah, hopefully keep safe, everybody. And I hope to see you all again next week on What a Week. Thank you for joining us.
Right.